Hi everyone, today is Wednesday, December 1st, 2021, and it's time to look back at November and see how we did as we head into the final month of the year. November was quite interesting, especially the last 2 weeks or so, where we saw a lot of volatility. Let's look at the performance first of the portfolio and then we'll go into the rest of it. So for the year through November 30th, 2021, I'm at 24.25% year to date. That's probably down 1.5% or so from the previous month, just because November was a pretty volatile month. By comparison, through November 30th, the S&P 500 is up 23.18%. So I'm doing about 1% better. It's going to flip, I think, because I'm sitting on quite a large cash position at the moment, and that's going to drag on the returns. But so far, the combination of having a risk parity approach, making some good calls in energy stocks and whatnot, has helped the portfolio. But I don't think this is going to continue as we head into 2022, as I rebalance things. But that's where we're sitting at November. So not terrible, but it did go down. It was a very volatile month. In terms of how I'm allocated, I am still 62% in cash, and the rest of the allocation is as you see it in terms of investments, in terms of sectors. Still moving funds to long-term bonds and gold and REIT holdings. And crypto still remains below 1%, but I'm making more moves to put dollars that I'm holding just in cash into stable funds or stable coins and getting interest on them. But I talk about crypto in a different video, and I may do regular updates on crypto. Probably not monthly. I don't think it's worth it. Maybe quarterly. See how we do. But in terms of the sector, no surprise. Still a big cash allocation. As we drill down to specific investments, still holding on to Microsoft, a small portion, but that's going to go away at some point as well as I rotate more into the NASDAQ 100 because there's already a large exposure to NASDAQ. I don't want to be duplicative, but at this moment, I'm just going to keep that small percentage. And that's what happened in the month of November. So what else was happening was that we had a new variant of the coronavirus. They're calling it the Omicron variant, and it seems to be a lot more contagious and more mutation of the spike protein, which is bad news. But so far, knock on wood, it seems like the effects are mild. So we've been on this roller coaster ride for the last week and a half or so of November. And I think it's going to be a bumpy road going forward. Who knows what the future will bring, but pretty crazy. Inflation is still a threat, I think. Who knows what the Feds are going to do with interest rates and with tapering, but all of that goes into play here. What we haven't heard lately is the debt ceiling limit. So there was an extension, a short-term extension that was put in a couple weeks ago, but we're coming up on it now. And I think that's another kind of shock to the system, so to speak, where we're going to see a lot of instability and whatnot heading into the end of the year. So I expect it to be very bumpy for the next quarter or so, but let's see what happens. I continue to worry about inflation. I don't think it's going to be as bad as some folks are saying, but I do believe that it's going to cause the Feds to act sooner than they had indicated and would have liked. And I think with Jerome Powell's comments lately, that seemed to be the course. I don't think that rates will rise too much, although they will start to go up more quickly. But that's just my personal opinion. Do I really know what's going on? Not really. So I'm just going to stick with my plan and hope for the best, just like everyone else. In terms of the risk parity allocation, as before, I am putting $1,000 a month into this 100% invested portfolio for my risk parity allocation. So you can see that for the month of November, the portfolio overall was up 1.17%, and is holding the same allocation. And it just gets added to every month, and then it does its thing. But for the month of November, was up 1.17%, which is not bad. by comparison, for the 1 month time frame with the S&P 500, it was down 0.74%. Now, this is highly unusual because the risk parity portfolio and the concept behind risk parity is that you're supposed to minimize your drawdowns while getting pretty close to market returns. You're not supposed to beat it. That's why I'm saying this is kind of not normal. So the fact that it's beating it by a good 2% is highly unusual. It's just 1 month, so it's hard to draw any long-term conclusion. But my point here is not to expect that. But my reasoning for sharing this portfolio is that my entire portfolio has, God knows how many accounts, 10 accounts. I'm going to consolidate them, but I'm not ready to yet. So it's spread all over the place. I have funds and whatnot all over the place. So as I transition things to this portfolio, the purpose of this M1 finance portfolio is just to show what would happen if you were holding this fully invested and adding to it every month. That's the whole point of this portfolio. So for the past month in November, it did remarkably well compared to the market. Part of that is that ballast with the long-term treasury. Gold certainly helps, but it held very well in the last month. I think that now that we are in the end of November, I have enough data with this portfolio to go back a full quarter. So let's go ahead and take a look at how it did over the quarter. And we can compare that to the S&P as well. So over the last 3 months, the portfolio was up 1.77%. So adding $1,000 every month to this, it's gone up 1.77% over 1 quarter. By comparison, the S&P 500 was up 0.97. So this is a slightly longer time frame, covering 3 months, but this difference in performance is still very, very abnormal. So I can't stress that enough. So even though the S&P was up 1% over the last 3 months, and this risk parity portfolio was up almost 1.8%, very highly unusual. I think it's just speaking to the volatility and just this weird environment that we're in. But overall, I'm still very happy holding this portfolio and transitioning to it. I remain concerned about holding long-term bonds as rates are going up, but I'm a firm believer that if rates go up smoothly and not abruptly and doesn't get too high, this is still a good move, especially if you're adding to it on a monthly basis, because you won't see that sharp rise versus fully invested. In any case, longer than normal, but I wanted to give some additional thoughts and context to what I think is going on, especially as we head into year end. But overall, I think that things are going according to plan. Again, knock on wood. God knows what's going to happen with this Omicron variant, what the feds will do, and especially with the debt ceiling limit coming up. We'll see. It'll be an exciting December. Anyways, take care, and I wish you all the best of luck closing out the year. Later.